Howdy, y'all. We are going to be looking at some SSL certificates on the Alertus server today. We have two examples available that we're going to be looking at, a wildcard and a non-wildcard. So the most frequently requested SSL task is how to replace the SSL certificate when you get a new one. So we're going to be taking a look at what that entails and why we do it. Go ahead and take a look at the certificate by double clicking it. We can see this one is .cer, but .crt will do the exact same thing. There is no difference between the two. And in fact, you could even just change it if you wanted to. So I'm going to rename this to .cer. Yell at me for a second, but surprise, exact same functionality. So when we get a certificate, we're going to see a certificate path. It's going to show that this, the access level certificate, is the one that we actually need to replace. Without going too deep into the woods, each of these levels is a different level of security and expires in a different time frame. The access level 1 is the one that expires with some frequency and the one that you will likely need to replace. So let's go ahead and take a look at what that looks like on our server. You can go ahead and open up the File Explorer right here. And we're going to look at this PC. The Alertus server is usually hosted on C, but if it's not hosted on C on your drive, just go ahead and use the drive it's hosted on and go to Alertus. And we're looking at configuration, which is abbreviated as conf. We're going to need the impl Ssl Comp File, which, as the name implies, is how you implement your SSL certificate and how it's configured. Go ahead and open that up real fast. This is opening in Notepad++, but if you have normal Notepad, that's fine too. It's just a little bit cleaner to look at with the lines. We'll be talking about those in a second. Also going to look at our SSL files here. So we go to SSL. Here you can see that these haven't been updated in a while. Looks like they were updated last in 1876, and we're going to get ones that are, I believe, 2020. Perfect. That seems much more present. You'll note here we also have 3 levels: the access level, the chain, and the root. This corresponds directly to their access level, chain, and root on our certificate. We can also see that in our SSL configuration file, it asks for these things as well. Here's our access level 1 here, which is the certificate file. There is a key, which you should not have to change in this. It should already be in this folder. Right now we've got our 1876 key. So because this is an extension of refreshing the same certificate chain, we're just closing or just changing out the access level. Everything else can remain the same. We will change the name for our convenience today, though. Of important note, these parameter and host ones, these do not get changed. These are also okay to reside here. So I'm going to go ahead and take these out, and we're going to be replacing them with the new ones. So I'm just going to throw them on the desktop for right now so I can reference their naming convention. You can put them wherever you would like, but this is just easier for me. And I think we're going to use a wildcard one to be consistent with what was before. Now, realistically, we'll be able to keep the same root and intermediate, but we're just going to show the whole process today in case you do have to change out the whole process. So I'm going to throw this right in here. This is a wildcard certificate, which just means that it starts with the domain as an asterisk. Yours may not have this. It may look more like this one. Let me close this out. Oh goodness, so many of these open. And we'll see that this one, instead of starting with an asterisk, is just issued to a specific domain. That is more likely what you'll have, and from here you can host everything after it. Let's take a look at a wildcard. So the first thing we're going to want to do is break out these additional certificates. We know that they exist inside here. We just need to get them out. So what we do is we go to the certificate path. We click on, in this case, the intermediate, and we're going to say, what's that one look like? We're going to view it. And here we can see that we're at the intermediate. What we're going to do for this one is copy it out to its own file. So we went copy to file. And next, base 64 encoded right here is the one that we want to use. Not going to go into the cryptography of it, just trust me on it. Hit next, and we're just going to call this one essentially the same thing. So we will call it Lourdes.2020 dash intermediate, and I will fix the name in just a second. We're going to make sure we're putting it in the right place. It should be in comp SSL. Oh, perfect. I'll just copy the name here and add 2020 dash intermediate. Excellent. Export successful, and there it is. And we're going to do the exact same thing to get the root real fast. So we'll open it up. We'll go to the certificate path. This time, we only have two because it's the intermediate. I'm going to grab the root and view the certificate. Pull it right over here. And we're going to see, yep, this is our root. Let's go ahead and copy it out to a file. Say next, base 64 encoded. We'll do the same thing, but this time we will call it root. Perfect. Next, and finish. Export successful. So now we have our new intermediate right here, our new root, and of course our access level. And let's make sure that we have these correct. So we see we have our Lourdes 2021 here.com 2020. We have our key, which right now is called 1876 key. So I'm just going to rename it to 2020. Some of you might be screaming at the computer screen that this says CRT, but this says part CER. I promise it's all part of the presentation so we can see what happens when we get something a little bit off. So we're going to pretend right now all of this is right in the world, and we're going to make it happen. So we will save off our changes. In this case, we're just saving it to what it matched before. So we hit save, and we're going to attempt to run this. So what this requires is restarting the Lourdes console. I'm going to do this a little bit more brute force by going to services. There is a restart option. Under services, we can just restart them manually. So I'm going to stop each of these. Apache, which is the web front, which is what these certificates use. Tomcat, which is the intermediate part of the program that passes information back and forth between Apache and MySQL. It's sort of like Java that can run on the program. And Tomcat might give us a little bit of consternation, but should not be too bad. And the last part is going to be MySQL, which is, of course, where all the data is actually held in a SQL database. Once these three services are stopped, we're going to restart them. And when we restart them, it will load this file into memory and check against the certificates. And we're going to see what happens. So to do that, we're going to type in start down here, and we'll see that we have the start option. But of course, first we need to finish stopping our services. And Tomcat is quite pernicious. So we're going to give it a minute to deal with its more tenacious qualities. Then we just stop Tomcat. Or MySQL, excuse me. All right, so everything stopped. We've got our new files, and now we start the server back up. We will pretend that we know our certificate is right when actually it's wrong, and we're going to see what happens when we try and start this up. So from the start message, looks like things are going pretty well, except this or doesn't exist. That's kind of cryptic. So let's hit continue. And here on services, if we refresh the page using this, we'll see that SQL and Tomcat have started, but Apache is not. If we hit start manually, we'll even see that it's not liking this. Now I start the Apache, it says we can check the system event log to see what's going on. Okay, let's do just that. So click start, let me type out event. This is Event Viewer. So if there is something that's gone wrong, this is how you troubleshoot what line in particular is causing the issue. It looks very overwhelming at first, but I promise it's not that bad. You just go to Windows Logs, Application. You'll see there'll be some angry looking red X's here, and these will tell you what things have gone wrong. My goodness, it is taking a little bit to load up because I have caused quite a few things to go wrong in preparation for this training. So let's take a look. You can see our most recent error right here. It's telling me that the Apache service is reporting that this certificate file does not exist or is empty, and it's talking about this 2019 key. Oh, that makes sense. It should say 2020. And for these specific issues, we can see that multiple of them are being called for this exact time. We're also seeing a syntax error on line 28. Each of these is providing a line to let us know where we need to fix them. So let's go ahead and take a look at our file and let's make some fixes. So this is a 2020 key. Let's go ahead and make this a wildcard.2020.key. Curious that it's asking for 2019. So I'm just going to change and save it just to make sure. It might be an older version of the file. So we will call it 2019 and I will call it 2019 over there as well. We're also going to make sure and say that these are all .cer. So we're going to change these to .cer. See, there's not really any mystery here. It is just making sure that everything aligns one-to-one for exactly what we need it to be. Computers are awful at guessing things, and it needs to be spelled out completely explicitly. The other parts here will be fine and require no changes. Save that off. We'll double check by opening the file back up. So that is, again, one directory up from Ssl. It's in our comp file. I'm just going to make sure that this is exactly what we want. It should say 2019 and CERs. Yep, CERs in 2019. Now we'll try running the Apache service again. See if it gives us an error. Yep. So again, we'll see what sort of sequence error we've got. It's just as simple as going over into our event viewer, which is this one right here. We'll see that we've got a couple new ones right here. So we're looking at 126. It's going to be right up here. We should also have the ability to refresh here and get the most recent error, 125. So it's telling me that dash chain.ser does not exist. It's possible I used a dot instead of a dash. These things happen. This is the process that you'd go through to make sure that everything is copacetic. So let's get our exact error. It says dash chain. Oop, one too far. That's all right. So we'll just go over. Again, we're in our SSL. We want to make sure we've got dash chain. Oh, here we go. I use dash intermediate instead of dash chain. Both naming conventions, of course, are fine. You can call these dash hippo if you like. All that matters is that they match up between the two. So with that change, let's go ahead and start it. And there we go. Apache is now running. Everything is happy. And that is how you replace the certificate files for an update in your SSL certificate. Of course, if this looks a little bit daunting or you just want a helping hand, you can always reach out to support@alertus.com and they will help walk you through the process. All right. Hope to see you in the next video.